All right, Larry Kruger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little Krug's Draft Gems on South Dakota State guard Mason McCormick. And this video is brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles, 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove. Call Anthony Catania at 831-521-5264. And, of course, the title sponsor of the Krug Show, Pig and a Pickle. And there's two locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera, both open from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue you're going to find. Go say hi to Damon and Mary and tell them that Larry Kruger sent you. All right, let's talk about Mason McCormick. It's funny. It's like there's schools where you're like, wow, man, there's 4 or 5 different prospects there that I really like. And they're usually LSU, Ohio State, Georgia, Bama. But this year you could add South Dakota State, because they have Garrett Greenfield at tackle, Isaiah Davis at running back, and this guy, Mason McCormick, at guard. And let's talk about McCormick for a second, because to me, if I'm the Niners and I'm trying to reshape my offensive line, if I could get Zach Frazier, Garrett Greenfield, and Mason McCormick, I'd be happy with the future of the Niner offensive line. He goes to South Dakota State. He could have transferred and didn't. That's another cool thing about the guy. The guy was like, yeah, I'd rather stay at South Dakota State and finish what I started and help my team win. And sure enough, South Dakota State won back-to-back FCS titles. They won 29 straight, back-to-back national championships. And this guy is really the key figure. 6'4", 310, 33 and 7/8 inch arms, 10-inch hands, 35.5-inch vertical. He went to Indy and put on a show. He's a 3-time team captain. He's tough as hell. What he doesn't have super quick feet, but man, he put on a show in Indy. He's durable. He started 57 straight games in college. Really strong upper body. As I said, he could have transferred. He could have played in the Big Ten, the SEC his final year. But you know what? He said, no, I'm staying at South Dakota State with my guys. And I think that's really cool. He's from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. He was an FCS first-team All-American. As I said, he's a 3-time team captain. He's a scholar athlete, has a track background, through the discus in high school as well as played football. And, he's led this South Dakota State Jackrabbits team to 29 straight wins and back-to-back national championships. He's just a really, really good player. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it. And you could see it in the All-Star games. You could see it when you watched him. His highlight reel is very impressive, but his you watch a couple games and you see that he's really, really consistent. He doesn't have lightning quick feet. He's more of a mauler in the run game. But man, if you're looking to just, establish dominance at the line of scrimmage, you could do worse than this guy plugged in at right guard. For the Niners, I would say he's probably going to go in the 3rd round, maybe the 4th round. I think there's too many teams that are on him to get to the 4th round, to day 3. But, if you're the 49ers, maybe you use a late day 3 pick on him. Maybe you use a 4th round pick if he's there on him. Mason McCormick, love this guy. Just absolutely. And there was a great video between the relationship he has with his right tackle, Garrett Greenfield, who's also a really good prospect. And then you look at Isaiah Davis, the big back, 220-pound running back that they blocked for. Man, if I were the Niners, if I could go, a trio of Jackrabbits, I would. I'll take McCormick. I'll take Garrett Greenfield, and I'll take Isaiah Davis. I think all 3 of those guys would be tremendous 49ers. So, I mean, McCormick is the real deal. He's tough. He's smart. He's a really good football player. He's dedicated. He's a leader. If you're trying to establish, you're trying to build an absolute wall in front of Brock Purdy. If you started in round 1 with Zach Frazier and came back in round 3 or 4 with Mason McCormick and could somehow find a way to get Javon Foster or Garrett Greenfield as a tackle behind them, you would have finish this, build this offensive line rebuild in short order. And I think that's the route I would go. I would go Frazier in round 1. I would somehow come back in round 3 or 4 with McCormick, and I would try to find Garrett Greenfield and Isaiah Davis later in the draft potentially. And I would go with the Jackrabbit trio and really feel good about it. Now, I'm going to share the screen on this guy as well because his highlights are just ridiculous. Here he is, Mason McCormick, going up against Chris Boyd. Boyd is another. This is South Dakota State against Northern Iowa. Kind of a big game on their level. Christian Boyd is a defensive tackle who's supposed to go in this draft, and we'll just play this tape, and you can see what McCormick does to Boyd. McCormick obviously is circled there. Here we go. So he's moving him. All right. Now here he is again at guard. He just buries him. And let's just plow him into the ground. Now here is he at right guard again against Boyd. Kind of, you see the lack of foot quickness there. He doesn't have great foot quickness. But what he does have is just real power. He's got power and he can direct you. And he's a tough guy. I mean, look at that. He's just absolutely going to lock on. Here he is driving his guy back into the middle. And Boyd's like, oh, man, I'm tired of this guy. He's getting frustrated. You can see Boyd getting a little frustrated. But, yeah, Mason McCormick, number 60. There he is on the pole. He's playing left guard there, taking his man one-on-one. He's moving his feet. He's changing direction. You see burying him into the ground. Here's Boyd again. Boyd's trying to knife back inside. McCormick's not letting him. I mean, it's just there's a lot of good tape here. I mean, if you watch South Dakota State, you'll see that Greenfield and McCormick on that one side really were fantastic. All right, I'll stop sharing, but you guys get the idea. Big, strong, tough guard who went to Indy and kind of showed that he had big time. He was as good a tester as any of those guys from LSU, Alabama. He tested as good as any of them, and he really looked good in the drills. Then you look at the film, and then you read the reports, and you're like, wow, this guy is tough. He's powerful. He's an impact guy. And, I'm not saying he's a plug and play guy. He might need, it might be a deal where a guy like Greenfield and McCormick need to sit for a year and watch. They may need to be developed a little bit, but I love the talent there, the attitude, all the traits. You're talking about a smart guy. You're talking about a tough guy. You're talking about an athletic guy, a leader, a high character guy. Mason McCormick. Remember that name, South Dakota State, tremendous player, absolutely tremendous player, and probably going to be there. I would say end of day 2, beginning of day 3. But you want that guy. You want this guy in your line. And if you could somehow get Frazier and McCormick, man, I think the Niners would have built themselves quite a fortress for Brock Purdy. All right, thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Sharp Corners, Sports Cards, and Collectibles for sponsoring this video. Thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.